Hey guys, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a first impressions on a new zero tolerance for 2021. Um, this is going to be an interesting video because I actually don't know how I feel about this knife yet, but I'm gonna share those feelings with you as they develop, I suppose. All right, what we've got here is the zero tolerance. Come on, focus. There we go. 0762 in CV in 20 CV and carbon fiber. There is the knife itself. I want to ask you guys a question to start this off. Where would you classify this knife? Maybe a gentleman's folder? Is it just a showpiece? You know, and I think perhaps showpiece might be part of what this is. Certainly from ZT's standpoint, they kind of consider this their big knife for the year. They've pulled out all the stops on this one. Um, anyway, I wanted to throw that out there. So be thinking about it. Let me know down in the comments, and I'll kind of maybe reassess when we get to the end. I have to also admit that when I first saw this knife, I wasn't sure how I felt about it. It's a little more appealing in person than it is on camera. And I should point out right away that of all the features that this knife has, the one that I do enjoy quite a bit is the blade. I do kind of like this blade. All right. As far as the overall design goes, I'm still kind of on the fence, but give me time until, I usually, there's between this and the time I do a review, there's usually a month or two, and I'll probably be able to come up with a solid opinion by that time. This is sort of a weird conglomeration. I can sort of feel the CKF Decepticons series here. There's a little bit of a Bestech feel that this has, which is not exactly a compliment. And then there's almost a Sinkovich feel as well. It's sort of like ZT kind of took a number of things that they've done over the last little while and kind of put them all into one knife to see how it works. They definitely, by the way, consider this a showpiece. If you go and look on their website, they kind of point out that, hey, this is where we've used all the latest and greatest innovations and the tuned detent system. We'll talk about what that is in a second. And so this is certainly a piece that Zero Tolerance thinks a lot of, and wants to get some traction with, and wants to show off with a little bit. All right, it's carbon fiber, titanium, 20 CV steel, and some steel in there as well. And so let's do a quick rundown on the knife itself. I've already mentioned I do like this blade, 20 CV steel, really, really nice satin grind there, and then stone-washed flats. So if there's nothing else good about this knife, the blade is pretty impressive as far as I'm concerned. All right, they've done a decent job on the plunge grind and the choil here. So overall, the blade I like quite a lot. I could go with less bannering, but nonetheless, there it is. By the way, that little symbol, this is a Zero Tolerance in-house design. So let's move over now to the handle and take a look. So we've got carbon fiber here, and you can see that there are some multiple layers going on. Now, the inside layer, the gray layer that you can still see there, is steel, and that layer has incorporated into it the detent system. So notice the lock bar's over here, the detent is over here. So there's a detent ball on a spring, and that detent ball pops into a hole in the blade on this side. Okay, over on this side where you'd normally find a detent, watch this blade watch the lock bar as I close the blade. Notice how it doesn't move at all. Okay, I'll do that again, but with opening. Focus, there we go. So as I open the knife, I can feel it popping on and off the detent, but notice the lock bar is not moving. That's because there's no detent hole in this side of the blade. It's only on this side. So it's a way of, I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to make the detent function completely independent of the lock bar, and especially make it so that if you happen to be putting pressure on this lock bar when you go to deploy the knife, it doesn't make any difference, and it doesn't. So they've achieved what they were aiming for with the tuned detent system. There's still a detent ball in this lock bar, and all it does is reduce friction with the blade, so you don't have the full width of the lock bar just riding on the steel blade. Now, by the way, this lock bar goes all the way over to here. So you see that little blue that you can see inside this window? If you watch it, when I open the knife, watch right here, it will pop over. hard to notice. You can see the shadow change, that's about it. But this is attached to the lock bar and sort of serves as an over travel stop there. It's a subframe lock. All right, you can see the 3 screws for the subframe lock right there. Not sure how I feel about that. Anyway, it's fine. I kind of wish they did a different way, because if you take this clip off, it does look like there are a lot of screws in this knife. The clip, again, is just a bent zero tolerance clip, which is a little confusing. ZT has done this quite a bit, but here's this knife where it's all fancy and all crazy, and they've really wanted to impress us, and then you get a bent clip. So that's a little bit of an odd choice in a knife like this. That said, it would be tough. Like what clip here would fit properly with this design? It would be, the clip design would be at least as tough as the overall knife design. So perhaps that's the motivation there. All right. So, and then of course we've got these windows. They chose to let us see all of the metal that's going in there. And there are some serious processes. By the way, you can see the blade as it moves in there, but they've milled out multiple times, right? So they've milled out to put this piece of titanium in, milled out again to put the piece of steel on top of that. So there is quite a bit of machine work here. It is on bearings. It does deploy quite nicely. So again, there's some good here for sure, guys, that I've got to give them credit for. Now with that double detent system, it doesn't make for super drop shutty knives, but it will drop shut. So you can see if I just shake that, my habit just while I was getting ready to film this has just been to push the knife closed like that. All right. If you don't quite get past the detent ball, hold on. You end up, when it breaks, it kind of slams shut. So you might want to keep your fingers out of there, but that's also kind of enjoyable. I like that snappy closing as well. Now, we've kind of gone over all of the features. Let's touch on size and weight. This is a full-size knife, 8 1/8 overall, 3 7/16 on the blade length there, 4 11/16 when closed. Okay, so this is a fairly compact little package here. 3 3/8 inches of grip area. So that's not huge. It's certainly enough for me, but I could see someone with hands much bigger than mine would maybe have an issue gripping this knife. And of course, the big story on this is the weight. This weighs in at only 2.9 ounces. So very, very light weight for its size. Now, I guess we have to get to the point of what would I call this, right? In some ways, it's the best description for it is this is Zero Tolerance's showpiece knife. Okay, this is where they're trying to brag and show off about their machining prowess and their innovation and all the cool stuff they can do, which is fine, right? That's certainly an appropriate title. It is also, I would say, a high-end EDC, kind of pocket jewelry, collector knife, and a showpiece for a knife enthusiast, right? A lot of people who would buy this, especially at the $320 price point, would baby it a little. Finally, is it a useful cutting tool? Obviously, I haven't got a ton of experience here, but the edge is thinner than most ZTs. It's very lightweight and fairly comfortable. So I think for EDC tasks, this is a fine cutting tool. And here's where, there are two places where I think this fits reasonably well. One, for the person who has all these really crazy high-end customs and, they're all safe queens. So for their everyday carry knife, they still want something that's interesting and more than your average, Para 2 or something, but they don't want something crazy expensive. This might be a good option. And by crazy expensive, I'm talking custom knife crazy expensive, not production knife crazy expensive. So that's one area where this fits in. Another area where this fits in is someone who just wants something really special. Maybe it's a gift. Maybe it's a knife enthusiast who wants something that's different and interesting. And so I do see a place in the market for this. I'm not sure if it's what I kind of hope for from Zero Tolerance every year is that I see at least one of their models and I just go, yes, I need it. I want it. I love it. And this year they left me a little cold. I am happy to get my hands on this knife and I am going to play with it and carry it around and use it and see how it goes. So look for my full review coming up. Otherwise, my I'm gonna reserve judgment until I have a little more time to get to know this knife. As I say, it's not the worst thing that I've seen. I don't hate it, but I'm not sure that I get that super exciting feeling that I'm used to getting from Zero Tolerance. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We will talk to you soon.